So welcome all of you students for the class of economics. Today we will be starting the second session of our chapter number 2, that is Indian economy, the development experience from the period of 1947 to 1990. In the session today we are conducting will be of agriculture sector. Today we are going to discuss about the agriculture sector, that is where we can say that India has always been an agrarian economy. It means we have obtained the mass amount of GDP right from agriculture since before the independence also and right after the independence for so many years. If we continue for this, we can say there was a mass of more than a wide big majority of population that was engaged and employed in agricultural sector. So agriculture sector was the ultimate sector that upon which our major population was dependent upon their livelihood and survival. So since we say that India is an agrarian economy, today we are going to discuss about this sector in a very brief note and a very creative note. So with respect to importance, if we say, we have collected few importance for you. First of all, agriculture sector has contributed the major level of GDP in India at the time of 1947 to 1990. It means at that time, as I told you, there was more than 80% population was employed. So we can say it was the biggest source of employment today. Again, it was a great contributor, great significance on the part of agriculture that it contributed a major amount of employment. Let it be disguised, but still we can say the people used to depend upon the agriculture for their livelihood because they had no other option since most of them were illiterate, uneducated, and they preferred to have their family business or family occupation as their main occupation, and the family occupation was none other than agriculture. So then agriculture has always been a major supplier of wage goods, for example, wheat, cereals, where the main crop were used to be built up by the farmers. Again, we say the agriculture has been a major supplier for the raw material. For example, when the farmers undertook for the commercial cropping, they used to cultivate cotton, indigo, jute for textile industries. It means we can say that moreover, agriculture produced food products as well as non-food products can and have always served as a raw material for big concern for industries also, for textile industries or for food product industries also. Then we can say again agriculture has been served as a demand source for industrial goods. Now we can say after the independence, there was an urgent need for the industry, for the agriculture to grow. And for this purpose, there was an emergence for the harvesting tool to be developed and to be implemented and provided to the agriculture farmers. So, there was an urgent need and demand for the industrial goods that had been raised in the agriculture sector. It means, again, it has given a major demand source for the industrial goods. So, it lead to the upliftment of industrial sector also. It means, whatever the harvesting tool we talk about, for example, the harvesting cultivator, or we can say tractors, tubers, pipes, they all will be contributed significantly for the agriculture. So we can say agriculture termed as a good source of demand for the industrial goods. Then again we say agriculture has served as a major contributor to international trade also and domestic trade also. For international trade, we have just exported a variety of farm products, for example, tea, sugar, potato, right? And for this, we have just gained a significant amount of the foreign exchange from international trade as well. Again, we say domestic consumption, we can say the entire India is just fed upon the Indian agriculture system. No doubt we used to export agriculture products from outside also, but moreover, whatever the agriculture produce is being developed or being cultivated in India, the most majority of population is being fed upon it. Okay. Now, if we tell about the support to transport and infra, yes. Since we can say from one part to another part of a country, if they need transfer of supply the goods. For example, if we need to supply apples from Kashmir to Kanyakumari, we just need a good transportation system, good infrastructure to carry on our transportation. So we can say again agriculture leads to a good support to the infrastructure as well as transportation system in terms of road, railways, aircraft. And greatest wealth, it means we say the more than 75% of the land has been occupied in agriculture sector. People used to cultivate as agriculture, food product, non-food product, textile products, whatever they are cropping out, it means the major amount of land have been occupied in the cultivation of crops. So, during the course of 1947 to 1990, we have observed that the agriculture had a great significance and contribution towards the Indian economy in all these ways and in many other ways, right? So, if it has been important, it has been a flourished tree, it need to have been grown much. But due to our disparity and lack of initiative, we just made this tree to be flourished rather than it has become a cactus with the following features. If we talk about what lacks in agriculture system was first of all low productivity. Why low productivity? Since we said that there was the absence of harvesting tools, there was the absence of mindset of the people of farmers, there was a conflicting relationship between landlord and tenants, or we can say the zamindari system was there. It means the complete exploitation of the farmers was there since they were not well educated. There were many reasons that will lead to low productivity by the farmer since he was the only person to cultivate the entire acres of the crop. It means it lead to a low productivity, low amount of acreage production. So, if we talk about the disguised employment, many times it has been observed, even today it is used to observe that there is a disguise in employment. It means where there must be the employment of 4 to 10 workers, we have employed over 25, 30 and 50 workers even. It means the people are working for no reason, they are getting a very few amount of employment just to have a meal a day. Then they are not going to have any further expense to be met out. Their children are not going to have a good or proper education. These people or these farmers, or we can say the poor, miserable or marginal farmers, cannot afford a good medical system, good health system, a good residential system, accommodation, nothing. Then if we talk about heavy reliance on rainfall, it means there was no system of tube wells, there was very less system of the wells that had been dug out from the earth since we were lacking the heavy industries or infrastructure at that time during the course of 1947 to 1990. It means the farmers were totally conservative and orthodox in their thinking. They just need to depend upon the rainfall. Since we all have seen the movie Lagan, at the very first scene of the movie, there was a song, and at that song, Barso Megare, right? A cloud used to arrive, people used to dance in the wake of thinking that the cloud are going to rain. Since a heavy drought is prevailing over that area, but the cloud just went away without any single drop on the earth. So we can say, in our India, we have depended upon the rainfall a lot. Since we just want that whenever the rain will come, or we can say the God of rain, or we can say Indra Bhagwan, जब खुश होंगे तभी हमारे पास खेती जो होगी वो फलेगी और फूलेगी. This is what we call as our subsistence mindset, or low or conservative mindset. We just need to improve our mentality from the dependence of rainfall to the mechanisms of users. Then subsistence farming, as I told you, due to the conservative approach, the farmer did not have any prospect to grow and prosper by himself. He just wanted whatever I am producing is sufficient for me and my family. This is what the subsistence farming was all about. There was no chance and no prospect for the farmer to move out, to bring himself in terms of growth and prosperity. Then lack of modernization means there was a very absence of mechanized means of farming. As I told you, no tractors were there, no harvesting tools were there, tube wells were not there, and there was a great emergency and need for them. So again, it leads to the we can say the drawbacks of agriculture. And we are treating them as a feature. So that's why I just draw this cactus in order to let you know what was the misery of agriculture in fact that lead to this flourish tree to cactus. Then land fragmentation. People have divided the land for their own purpose, for their own occupation. It means if a family is having 4 to 5 sons, all 5 sons have divided their land according to their own preferences. It means whenever we say if the land is divided into small holdings or if land is fragmented into small holdings, the fertility thereon will be divided as well. The fertility will be go down, since if the area of cultivation is big, more will be the fertility as observed by the agriculture department. So this was again a major issue, land fragmentation or small holdings that led to the low productivity and production in Indian agriculture. Then conflicting relations. Yes, land or tenant relationship will always be conflicting, as I told you. The Zamindar used to charge heavy revenue system from the farmers even after the independence, since the government didn't apply much control over them. But still, whatever the farmers or the relationship of Zamindar were there, they used to exploit the farmers as much as they can. Again, if the farmer is producing 100 tons, we used to take him 80 to 90 tons from him and just leave him with the 10 tons. Since the entire cost, entire burden of production, entire labor was of just farmer or tiller. But the majority of produce was belonged to Zamindars. So there was very conflicting relationship between Zamindar, or we can say landlord and tenant, that need to be abolished, so the government has done it. Lack of government participation. Since after India got independence, there was a very low performance of government, and that led to again our agriculture sector far behind the performance of rice. Indian agriculture just stayed behind several years, and this is just due to the lack of participation. And what the problem we have faced, it means there was a lack of organized market that we today called as mandis, right? The wholesale market of agriculture produce was not there, so where farmers should sell their agriculture produce was again a matter of concern. If he has produced 100 tons, right, and if he has given the 80 to 90% share to the Zamindar also, and he is left with 10 tons, where is he going to sell 10 tons? Again, is a matter of concern. That's why he used to reserve himself in subsistence farming. Then, lack of irrigation facility. I told you there was a lack of water. There was arid areas, broad areas in majority of quantity. Then, lack of finance. Since banking system was very at the raw stage, initial stage, government participation was totally insignificant. No fund was provided. How farmer could manage his own land and cultivation, and how he will be able to purchase good amount of seeds was again a matter of concern. It is a problem. Then what is the problem? Conventional outlook, backward outlook, low mentality. Since he just don't want to prosper himself, since he is always in a state of fear, if I grow the crop, if I have a good crop system I want to grow, how will I be able to grow myself? What are the avenues or the ways for which I can prosper myself? Then small holdings, again a matter of concern. I told you, an exploitative relationship between the system. So these are basically the problems that just scrap our tree in this form. Now, we need a sun, right, to just let this cactus or this scrap tree to become flourished again. For this, the government participation led to agrarian reforms in a very significant way. So agrarian reforms are basically the formulation of such agriculture policies and regulations for the benefit of farmers and the agriculture system as a whole, so that we must be able to maintain and manage all the importance of agriculture that we have seen just now. So the agriculture reform were provided in 3 forms. One, general reforms. Second, land or institution reforms. Third, technical or we can say modernized reforms. If we talk about general reforms, it means there was the provision of irrigation facilities in terms of tube wells, in terms of digging of wells, so so that the farmer must be ready with the water facility. Then credit facility, bank facility. We can say there were the rural banks as well as the NABARD was appointed. NABARD is said to be National Agriculture Bank for Rural Development that has just established as an apex bank for the development of agriculture sector and rural development only. Now, it means there was an urgent need to develop the credit facility, so it was done through general reforms. Regulated market in terms of Mohana Mandi and wholesale market for agriculture produce has been established so that the farmer could bring their output, sell it into the market and mandis, and they can get their share of profits in significant way. And they should be minimum wastage accordingly. Minimum support price, whenever we used to say if the buyer refused to buy from the farmers or marginal farmers or small farmers his amount of produce at a certain price, it means whenever the bargain is made and the farmer is not willing to sell at a low price, then how he will be able to sell more? For this, government has given the facility for minimum support price. Government accepted all the produce that none of the small marginal producer or farmer is not going to sell the amount below at this price. If this price has been fixed, he must be able to get his minimum share of profit in order to continue his survival, his livelihood and his farming. So there was a minimum support price as given by or supported by government in order to benefit the small and marginal farmers. Then we said cooperative agriculture societies have been established for the benefits and welfare of the farmer, so that if any time of any need problem, if a farmer arises, since we have seen a lot in mass societies of farmers, whenever he is in a dilemma to just repay the amount of money, or he just in the dilemma where to obtain the finance and he is not having any money in order to continue his level of production, and his family will suffer, he just need the help of some good institutions or organization, and for this purpose several cooperative societies have been established for his welfare. Right? So, second one is land and institution farmer. This is really very important skills. Since we just need to abolish the system of intermediaries, or we can say the system of zamindari. We have just taken the land, entire land from zamindars, leaving a particular section or part of land to him to which he can cater, and we distributed all the land to the concerned farmer who were interested in cultivating their farms. So when the zamindars were in hold of huge amount of land, or they were in the occupation of, we can say, villages to villages, we have just taken off all the land from them and distributed to the concerned farmers. It means the zamindari system or intermediate was totally abolished, and the farmers were free to cultivate as much as they can on their own land without any surcharge, without any revenue system to be paid to the zamindar. Now, regulation of rent. If any farmer is interested in farming and he is not having his own land, he can cultivate on the rented land, and the rent should not be more than 1/3 of the entire produce. I repeat again, once again, the rent should not be 1/3 of his entire produce that was regulated by government in the land or institutional reforms. It means he must get his good share of profit. This is basically the regulation of land. Land consolidation. As we talk about the small holdings, land fragmentation, right? We just need to consolidate the land and make it in one, so that higher the consolidation, more will be the fertility, greater will be the output to be produced. So we need to increase the production also, we need to increase the productivity also. For this, we just need to consolidate the small amount of land, so that we must be able to manage a big amount of land for a single amount of produce, single unit of produce. For this, land consolidation has been taken place. Cooperative farming. Several times it has been observed that the farmers have come together, join their hands, make their associations, and they establish their farming in a very cooperative way. For this, what they have undertaken? They have undertaken the similarity of the crops. For this, we can say if the person is growing wheat and if the other farmers are also growing wheat, they just combine their land, they have just combined, make their association, and with the help of the association they facilitate the cooperative farming, and in which not only the agriculture produce was made, they have undertaken the cooperative farming. In cooperative farming, the agriculture produce the commercial crops and organic farming too. It means the right activity will also given the importance for this. Then, with respect to technical reforms, we just need to modernize our agriculture system in terms of provision of high yielding variety of seeds, by which we can say where the time for the cultivation or we can say the slop period was there, where the time of reaping the seeds to the growing of farm was very high. Right? It means we can say the gestation period that was very large, it needs to be just lower down, and it can be lowered down only with the help of technical reforms by provision of good variety of seeds, which we call it as high yielding variety of seeds, so that the time for the cultivation should be reduced as much as possible and the agriculture should be at maximum. Then we can say we need to accept the use of fertilizer and pesticide in order to have healthy output, better output free from all pests or insects that can lead more harm to the agriculture farm when it is up to the flourishment. Then we need to follow scientific farm practices. For example, there is one practice known as crop rotation. It means there is a significant crop rotation. It means if we are eligible to grow 3 to 4 crops in a year by rotating the crops or by as well as by maintaining the fertility as well, we can say such practice can lead to a great farm output or production level. So, last but not the least, mechanized or modern use of cultivation. As I told you, the use of tractor harvesting tools was in a great urgency. So, this was basically provided under technical reform. So this was ultimately necessary for enlightening the agriculture sector to become more prospective or prosperous stream as it was. So what it has led to, these are basically the benefits we have received. Rapid rise in production of agriculture produce just after the implementation of such reforms. Substantial rise in acreage, or we can say productivity in agriculture has been increased manifold. Rise in farmer earnings and output. It means the farmer has started thinking for the better growth and prospectivity also rather than subsistence way of living. They just need to grow and they just want their children to get educated in a good institution and schools and colleges. Then maintain self-sufficiency. Agriculture produce was growing to such an extent that India at once has become the self-sufficient in the food product. It does not require any other country for the imports of the goods. Then rise in commercial farming and allied activity. Definitely there is a organic farming, allied activity, commercial cropping that has given a rise in India along with the basic wage goods or basic agriculture output. So this all has led to the process of green revolution as well as white revolution. Green revolution takes place when the wheat has grown in a tremendous amount of scale and other wage goods. Whereas we can say white revolution is taken thereafter when the production of rice has taken a great rise in the production as well as productivity. So this is basically the agriculture sector that we have discussed with you, and that was in the era of 1947 to 1990. That we have seen, it means before the economic reforms, we just have followed such amount of things just in order to overcome the problems, challenges, and to make agriculture as important as it was used to be. Right. Now the last concern for us students is the subsidies. There is a concern for subsidy. What do you mean by the term subsidy? Basically, subsidies are concerned with the rebate of tax or reduction of tax liability towards the farmers. It means if we provide a low price seeds or low price harvesting tools or low price industrial goods or we can say if we reduce the tax on agriculture output, we can say we can provide the subsidies to the farmer in many ways. But it has always been an issue whether the subsidies should be continued or whether the subsidies will be beneficial in the long run, or it should be a temporary phase, or it is not really to any benefit to the farmers. It has always been a question of debate that for how much time the subsidy should be carried out. We say if we are talking about the subsidies, first of all, subsidies must be provided to the small and marginal farmers. But basically, in order to maintain the equality between the rich and poor farmers, it must be provided to the poor farmers. But I say it has been benefited more by the rich farmers or zamindars. Since due to lack of knowledge, information, reachability to the poor farmers or their illiteracy have lagged them toward the excess of these subsidies. And due to this fact, the person who should have taken the benefit of it has been deprived. Literally. It means if we say if the benefit of subsidy has been over, it should be withdrawn. So whether the subsidy should be provided or should be withdrawn, again is a matter of concern. So what we need to know is if the benefit of subsidies has been overcome, has been completed, it should be withdrawn thereafter. Since it is basically reducing the revenue receipts of the government. Government should take periodical or effective measures to reach to the farmers and to know whether he is capable of paying the suitable amount of tax or not, or whether the benefit of subsidy which he was availing right now have been completed or have been finished or not. If it has been done, subsidy should be withdrawn. And just taking care at the time, side by side, that the rich farmer should not get benefit or get undue benefit from subsidies. So that we just need to maintain the equality between the rich farmers and poor farmers, and we should just need to avoid the miserability and the dangerous circumstances, or we can say suicides of the farmers, since they were having from the past several decades. Even today they are in the state of great miserability. The farm product has been just cropped up, but due to this lockdown there are less amount of people to supply from their farms, or we can say from their agricultural areas to the regulated markets. So basically, this is basically the sector that we have seen. In the next session, we are going to start with the industrial sector, and we will talk about what is the state and significance of industrial sector during the course of time of 1947 to 1990. Till then, students, thank you so much for joining the class and listening our lectures. But before that, do one thing from my point of view. Just think about the state of agriculture in present scenario, in the present lockdown, and just realize how the farmers are suffering today when they are not able to provide to the mandis, or we can say wholesale markets or regulated markets, since they are not having any labor or manpower to supply, since we are under the state of lockdown. So students, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy, and thank you so much.